welcome everyone to Election Night 2020, Donald Trump versus Bernie Sanders. It is time for the 7 p.m. poll closings. We begin with Indiana. Donald Trump wins Indiana with its 11 electoral votes. In Kentucky, Donald Trump wins 8 electoral votes. Vermont, Bernie Sanders wins 3 electoral votes. This is an interesting one. Virginia, Bernie Sanders wins 13 electoral votes, and this is a much earlier call than we expected it to be, frankly, but this is a sign Sanders is performing better than Hillary Clinton did in 2016. In Georgia, we can now say it is too close to call with Donald Trump up 5 points. In South Carolina, it is too early to call. These are our very first returns. Donald Trump is up 19 points, but this will probably tighten. Maybe a little, although we do expect Trump will win this race. Looking at the electoral map, you can now see that Donald Trump is at 19 electoral votes, Sanders is at 16. It's time for the 7:30 p.m. poll closings. In West Virginia, Donald Trump is the winner in West Virginia, 5 electoral votes, an easy victory. In Ohio, Donald Trump is up 6 points over Sanders, but it is too close to call right now. North Carolina is also too close to call, with Trump up 1 point. The electoral map now looks like this, with Donald Trump ahead of Sanders, 24 electoral votes to 16. It is time for the 8 p.m. poll closings. A lot of states to call. Mississippi is the first one. Donald Trump wins Mississippi with its 16 electoral votes. Alabama, Donald Trump is the winner in Alabama, 9 electoral votes. In Oklahoma, Donald Trump wins Oklahoma with its 7 electoral votes, a very easy victory. In Tennessee, Donald Trump wins all 11 electoral votes in Tennessee. In Illinois, Bernie Sanders wins 20 electoral votes, a big prize for him. In Maryland, Sanders wins 10 electoral votes. Sanders has won the state of Delaware, 3 electoral votes. New Jersey, 14 electoral votes, along with Connecticut, 7 electoral votes. Rhode Island, 4 electoral votes. Massachusetts, 11 electoral votes. New Hampshire, 4 electoral votes. This is very interesting. Another sign that Sanders is performing better than Clinton did in 2016, because this is a much earlier call than it was 4 years ago. And in Maine, this is our first flip of the night. Sanders wins all 4 electoral votes, flipping the 2nd district. Maine and Nebraska are the 2 states that divide their electoral votes, but Sanders has won all of Maine's electoral votes. Continuing, in the District of Columbia, Bernie Sanders has won 3 electoral votes. And Pennsylvania, a key battleground state in the Rust Belt. Pennsylvania, 20 electoral votes at stake. Sanders is up by 2 points. In Florida, Bernie Sanders is actually behind Trump by 2 points, 29 electoral votes at stake. In the state of Missouri, 10 electoral votes at stake. Donald Trump is up 9 points. A little interesting, we couldn't project Missouri. This is what the electoral map looks like. Sanders is actually quite a ways in front of Trump. 96 electoral votes for Sanders, 57 for Trump. It's time for the 8:30 p.m. poll closings in one state, Arkansas. Donald Trump wins the state of Arkansas, and it's 6 electoral votes. In South Carolina, we can also now project that Donald Trump has won the 9 electoral votes from that state. This is what the electoral map now looks like, with Sanders still quite a bit in front of Trump, but we will have a lot of results at 9 o'clock. It is time for the 9 p.m. poll closings. In Louisiana, Donald Trump wins 8 electoral votes. Donald Trump wins Texas 38 electoral votes. This will be the largest victory for Republicans tonight in a single state. In Kansas, 6 electoral votes for Donald Trump. Nebraska, Donald Trump wins 4 of the 5. As I mentioned earlier, they do divide their electoral votes. In South Dakota, Trump wins the 3 electoral votes from there. He wins 3 more in North Dakota and 3 more electoral votes in Wyoming. In New York, Bernie Sanders is the winner of 29 electoral votes. In New Mexico, Sanders wins 5 electoral votes. Colorado, Sanders wins 9 electoral votes. Donald Trump thought he could contest this state, but he has not been able to do so. In Minnesota, Sanders surprisingly winning this at poll closing, 10 electoral votes in Minnesota. Michigan is another key battleground state like Minnesota and Pennsylvania. Michigan, Sanders is actually ahead of Trump by 3 points. This is a state Trump won in 2016. Same thing in Wisconsin. Here, Sanders is leading by 2 points. In Arizona, 11 electoral votes at stake. Sanders surprisingly is up 2 points. In the 2nd district in Nebraska, Trump is up 8 points. He will likely win that by the end of the night. Looking at the electoral map now, you can see that Bernie Sanders is still just barely in front of Trump, so this race could still flip very easily. It is time for the 10 p.m. poll closings now, and we begin in Utah, where Donald Trump wins 6 electoral votes. Not a surprise. He wins Montana's 3 electoral votes. There's an interesting Senate race and an interesting governor's race here, but in the presidential race, Trump will pretty easily win this state. Surprisingly, we can say Bernie Sanders has won Nevada's 6 electoral votes. We thought it would take him longer to do so, but he has carried it. Iowa, no projection at this point, but Donald Trump is ahead by 1 point. There's an interesting Senate race going on here, too. And looking at the map now, you can see Sanders just barely ahead of Trump by 9 electoral votes. This is going to be a very interesting race. Most states' polls have closed with just a few remaining open. It's time for the 11 p.m. poll closings, the last of the contiguous United States. Donald Trump wins Idaho, not a surprise. Here's one that is very important. Trump wins North Carolina. Sanders was hoping to contest this state, but Trump has done it. He has won. He's also won Missouri. This went on for a surprisingly long time, but Trump has been able to pull out a victory. California, Bernie Sanders wins 55 electoral votes, the largest state in terms of electoral votes. Sanders wins, not a surprise. He also wins Hawaii with its 4 electoral votes, Washington with its 12 electoral votes, Oregon with its 7 electoral votes, and Michigan. Michigan has now gone to Bernie Sanders' 16 electoral votes. This is a flip from 2016 and a key victory for Sanders. Here's another one. In Wisconsin, Bernie Sanders flips Wisconsin, winning 10 electoral votes. And here's another one. Pennsylvania, Sanders wins, flipping Pennsylvania as well. That is 20 more electoral votes in his column. Remember, you need 270 electoral votes to win. Sanders is at 279, meaning Bernie Sanders has been elected 46th President of the United States of America. There is the map one more time. It is time for our 1 a.m. poll closings. In Alaska, Donald Trump has won 3 electoral votes, not a surprise. He has also won Georgia at this hour. Sanders really wanted to win Georgia, but he could not do so. Trump has also won Nebraska. He has finally won that 2nd district. Not too surprising. On the map now, Sanders still hasn't gotten that many votes. He's just barely at what he needs to win. So he, this may be looked back on as one of the closest elections ever, really. We have 3 major projections stand by. In Arizona, Bernie Sanders is the winner of 11 electoral votes. In Florida, Bernie Sanders is the winner of 29 electoral votes. Flipping this state, he flipped Arizona too, and Iowa also going to flip. Let's talk about these. These are all very, very surprising flips, especially Arizona and Iowa. Sanders didn't think he had much of a shot in Arizona, but he has been able to win that state. And stand by for our final projection. In the state of Ohio, Donald Trump will hang on to win Ohio. This is the first time since 1960 where the winner of the election did not win Ohio, and vice versa. This is our final electoral map. We would like to thank you for watching our election night coverage.